So it appears that Jake Tapper may have finally had enough of JD Vance and Donald Trump's bullshit because he actually tears JD Vance apart in this interview that they do. And JD Vance gets quite upset, visibly upset, and actually starts raising his voice.
Well upset.
But we also have a video that nobody, for whatever reason, I have sent this video to everybody I know, and nobody has picked up on it. We have definitive proof that JD Vance is a fascist. Proof, video evidence.
Not hyperbole, like actual visual evidence of an interaction that proves it.
This is not allegedly. This is actual proof.
Yeah.
That
we don't have to say allegedly.
No, for once. But first, let's go. I want to play Jake Tapper, who apparently is just pissed that like Mitch McConnell and a couple of people, who else is involved? They're upset that Donald Trump is being called a fascist.
The two Republican leaders expressing concern about Kamala Harris calling Donald Trump a fascist. Let's show an example of Harris doing exactly what McConnell and Johnson are taking issue with.
She's a Marxist, communist, fascist, socialist.
I'm sorry, the control room, that was actually Donald Trump calling Kamala Harris a fascist in September. Control room, are you ready? Please run the clip of Kamala Harris calling Donald Trump a fascist, which offended the Republican leaders.
Somebody's got to explain this one. There's a radical left, Marxist, communist, fascist.
Okay, again, I'm sorry. That was Trump calling Harris a fascist.
So
I apologize. Good. Control room, can we get it together? Johnson and McConnell are very upset that Kamala Harris called Donald Trump a fascist. Please roll the clip. Humor me.
Authoritarian, admires people who are dictators. He has said that. So he certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, for sure.
Okay, so that was Donald Trump being called a fascist, but not by Kamala Harris. That is retired Marine General John Kelly, Trump's longest-serving chief of staff, coming to.
And it goes on like this for a little while. And the only example they could give of Kamala calling Donald Trump a fascist was just when she was asked if he was a fascist, and she said yes. But I don't think Kamala Harris is actually right. She is, but I don't think she's actually ever come out and said it yet. Right.
All of his former aides are saying it. All of his former cabinet members are saying it. And all of his generals are saying it. Everyone is saying it. He's basically telling you he is. He just thinks it's a good thing. But Kamala has never once just started one of her speeches going, you know what, Donald Trump, that fascist, he's a fascist.
Right.
No.
Because I would be going off. That. I would be going off. You know how I am on this show. I call it like I see it. So I would have a hard time biting my tongue and being politically correct in this situation.
What would you do if you got a chance? Obviously, you can't like punch him, but if you could shake his hand or get in proximity, what would like one sentence be that you would say to him?
To who? JD Vance or Donald Trump?
No, Donald Trump.
I don't even know, man. I would have to think of something. I know what I would ask JD Vance. I would ask JD Vance, how long after Trump gets elected until you invoke the 25th Amendment and take his job from him? Because that's the question I would ask JD Vance.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get to the video. Video evidence that JD Vance is in fact a fascist. Okay. This was one of his rallies from a couple months ago that he did. And in the background, as he's leaving the rally, somebody gives him a Hitler salute. Okay. It's not a wave. I've slowed it down. There's no audio because there's music playing and I don't want to get dinged for copyright.
The whole interaction is undeniable. Watch the body language.
You're going to see it. You're going to see it 3 times. I've slowed it down more and more each time just to get my freaking point across because we need people to see this video.
Yep.
All right. There it is right there in the background. Shakes JD Vance's hand. He salutes JD Vance. Okay. Look. JD Vance shakes his hand.
Watch Vance.
Look away.
At him. Turn back.
Laughing. One more time in very, very slow motion. That's a salute that the Nazis used. He gave it to JD Vance directly JD Vance shakes this fucking guy's hand.
You know,
How in the world are people not talking about this?
I am starting to think that the people that started the Heritage Foundation and all these other little organizations meant to enact Project 2025, which, by the way, is an intensely fascist agenda. I'm starting to think they were the American Nazi Party that we saw in the videos in 1939, and they just went, well, I don't think we could win this because, Nazis aren't popular now that, Hitler's dead and, war crimes and genocide. So we'll just go underground and do it a different way and become, I don't know, the enemy within. Because when you give a potential vice presidential candidate or potential vice president the Nazi salute, and then that guy goes, which is exactly what happened. There's intent, there's knowledge, there's assumptions there, and the only answer is those Nazis from that 1939 rally were like, all right, we gotta buckle down for the next 70, almost 100 years.
I never thought about that. You could be absolutely right, because that movement obviously never died. It just went into hiding. But thanks to people like Donald Trump, they're back out in the open, thinking they can.
Remember, Trump isn't a Nazi. Trump isn't a Nazi. He doesn't believe in ideals. He's too stupid to even understand them. He's a fascist because he sees the world as his for the taking, and his power and his intellect the only thing that matters. He happens to be a fascist. JD Vance is very clearly a Nazi, or at least okay with being assumed that he's a Nazi by Nazis.
Right.
So,
I mean, he was in a public area. How could you not in your head be like, somebody could see this? Why would you shake that guy's hand? You know what I'm saying?
I don't think they care anymore. I don't think he cares. They don't care.
No, you're right. So back to Jay Tapper with the interview of JD Vance. He asked JD Vance the comments that Donald Trump has been making about the enemy from within. And just so we're clear, I said this on a previous video, if you do not agree with 100% of Donald Trump's craziness, you are also, I'm damn sure, and so is Mike, the enemy within. Other way, Mike. We are the enemy from within, okay? That Donald Trump is talking about. If you don't agree with Donald Trump, or if you don't vote for him,
anyone
you are
who
as well.
Opposes him is the enemy.
Right. And Donald Trump has said using the military against the enemy within. American citizens. And JD Vance on CNN is justifying those statements like a fascist would.
He said that he wanted to use the military to go after far left lunatics who were rioting, and he also called them the enemy within. He separately, in a totally different context, in a totally different conversation, said that Nancy Pelosi and Adam Schiff were threats to this country.
Were the enemy within.
Were
the enemy within. He said they were the enemy within.
So every time he uses the exact same phrase, we assume that he uses.
I don't know. I don't throw around the term of enemy within to talk about using the military against destroying American people.
And you're asking his vice president, but you won't let me answer the question. I'm telling
you're
you
not a vice
Donald
president,
Trump has
buddy.
said, and I agree with him, that we should use the U.S. military to go after
Americans.
People who riot, who burn down our cities.
And this was what John Kelly was. This was what John Kelly.
I mean, that's what the National Guard is for, not the actual
of using the U.S. military to go after Americans. That's what he said.
Donald Trump never said Americans writ large. You keep on putting words in his mouth and
are they or are they not Americans?
Far left people who commit acts of violence, who riot. And
now you're doing a very narrow definition of what he said, which is not what he said.
What I'm fascinated by is JD Vance is so easily doing the fascist, no, it's not what I said routine. What he's having you or trying to get you to believe is, well, Trump didn't mean everyone, right? That's what the phrase writ at large means. He didn't mean every American. He means only the Americans that I deem as the enemy. Well, I guess there's no law that says you can't turn the United States military on its own people, but that's what banana republics do. That's what dictators do.
Right.
That's what fascists do. Okay. If you can't handle protests in your own country and you need the military, maybe you should be listening to them, because he's not going to stop at the quote extreme leftist ones, because who is he to define where that line stops? He's going to use it on anyone that opposes him. He has already said he's going to put people in jail, his political opponents that spoke out against him, and worse. I believe we have that comment too.
Yep, we do. This actually gets even worse. So Jake Tapper's like, you don't think this is fascistic at all? And JD Vance is like, no, no, not at all. This is insane. This is crazy how this guy can twist himself into such a pretzel with such ease. Because Donald Trump, when he rambles, he just goes off on tangents, and people think
this guy
he's
could remember what he said 2 minutes
right.
earlier.
He's far more dangerous, I think, than Donald Trump is.
Yep.
Let's talk about things that he wants to do that are feeding into this concern that people like John Kelly and General Mattis and General Milley have. He said on Friday, Special Counsel Jack Smith should get thrown out of the country. He's threatened to arrest election officials who cheated. We know that he believes a lot of people cheated that did not cheat.
Yes, if you violate the law, you should be arrested. Yes.
No one disagrees with that, but he's talking
Apparently you do, based on the way you're asking the question.
Based on the fact that he's accused people that didn't break the law of breaking the law when it comes to the election.
That's the key.
And if you want to revisit that, I'm happy to. But Liz Cheney, he said, should be put before a war tribunal. None of that sounds fascist to you at all?
No, of course it doesn't.
Putting Liz Cheney before a military tribunal?
First of all, I don't buy into the premise of what you're saying, Jake, because I just on things that I know that he said, on things that I know.
I just reject what you said.
You're imputing things. You're taking words out of context. You're taking
we're not
conversations and pretending that they were.
No, we are not.
This is incredibly important. Donald Trump has suggested putting his political opponents, people who have not broken laws, but just, pointed out that he's a fascist, to put them in front of military tribunals. Let me explain something to you. A country that has an actual justice system, as screwed up as ours is, as unfair as ours is often to very particular groups of people, we technically have a justice system separate from the military. You know why? Because then you're not subject to, I don't know, being shot because a bunch of generals who are loyal to one man will do whatever he says. Okay, when you say Liz Cheney should be brought up and put in a military tribunal, you are saying that we don't have any crimes that she committed. She's just disloyal.
Right.
If that doesn't scare you, you were outside taking too long of a crap during history class. You need to go back and read a book, because there is no more textbook fascism than saying, if I win this election, will take my opponents and put them up for war crimes they didn't commit.
And we know that Donald Trump doesn't need proof or evidence to go after people. How many people has he lied about? How many people has he defamed? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I believe he just lost a defamation lawsuit.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he's going to have a few more coming while he rots in prison after he loses this election. I'm projecting, I hope. that this happens.
Knock on wood or something.
Yeah, because this could be reality. If Donald Trump wins, JD Vance will be president.
Look,
not might, he will be president.
If Donald Trump becomes president, whatever happens after that is going to be terrible. But I'll tell you one thing. We will not be allowed to have this conversation, because the internet will be turned off and rebooted like Chinese internet, where only approved websites and messages are allowed. And if you break what the party tells you and what the government tells you, you will be put into a concentration camp. That is how these people work. That is who Donald Trump worships. He has told you that. JD Vance has said he will let Donald Trump be a fascist. And we all know that Donald Trump isn't going to last more than an hour and a half. So JD Vance will be then a fascist. We know what their plans are. We know what Project 2025 is. They're telling you. He told Jake Tapper that he is okay with Donald Trump's fascism. I'm not putting words in his mouth. I'm explaining the bullshit that he is saying and trying to pretend it's fact. Donald Trump was the monkey in a suit. JD Vance is the snake in a suit. Watch out for JD Vance.
Yeah. And we weren't the only ones that feel this way. Lincoln Project, we actually played that ad. Lincoln Project saying the same thing. Donald Trump thinks he's the plan. He's not, man. He's not. JD Vance is the plan, man. Yeah, he's the means to an end. They need his base and that's it. They don't need Trump. They just need Trump supporters.
If you want to be a fascist, you only have to win one election.
Yep.
All right. Donald Trump tried it. It didn't work. We, for some reason, allowed him a chance to try again, and he's trying really hard this time. And now he's got someone. All right, I'm not a big Mike Pence fan, but when it came down to it, he found some moral up his ass, and he actually clung to it. J.D. Vance has no scruples, no morals, and is a fascist. He will turn this country into a Christian nationalist hellscape with the help of Donald Trump and his voting base.
Yep. And then the Heritage Foundation wins and gets everything they've always wanted. Yeah. But we're not going to let that happen, because we are going to save democracy ourselves by voting these people into obscurity. Please
Hopefully
vote
oblivion.
on Tuesday. Get out there, try and have a plan to go out and vote. It's extremely important. You guys all know what is at stake now. That's all we have for today's show. I hope you enjoyed us showing you actual physical proof that JD Vance is in fact a fascist. So yeah, you can argue with this all you want on this one. Yeah, you're not going to win. Other than that,
as you may.
Yep. We love you all. Thank you all for your support, and we'll talk to you soon.